So I wanted to go through a couple of general IETF-wide topics, and then we'll talk about administrative issues after that. So I'm going to cover the meeting and the participants just a little bit, give you an overview of the statistics, remind all of us of our professional behavior standards, mention what has happened with the IANA stewardship transition effort, talk about something that we call IASA 2.0, talk about mailing lists and networks, some IT issues within the IETF networks. And online, I have a couple different versions of this actually, but here's probably the best or easiest accessible one in the blog series. And it covers notable events here, talks about what new working groups we've got, which ones we've closed and changed. We got new 6 new working groups after the previous IETF. Lists the ideas that are currently under consideration, the two BOFs this time. And then also points to new non-working group mailing lists that we get now and then, and some of those lead to later BOF or working group efforts. We got no appeals, and then was a status report on the IETF website renewal project. And there's also a bunch of other reports from the RFC editor, Secretariat, IANA, NOC, Hackathon, and of course I, as well as others in the IETF leadership and active participants use the blog series, IETF blog series, to publish things that are happening in and around the IETF that we feel is important, so do take a look at that. The meeting and the participants, from my point of view, the highlights, maybe the one important thing to notice that we did have some very interesting topics and packed rooms. The quick meeting yesterday, for instance, was a full room. I think some people were standing even though it was the biggest room that we could allocate or find. And that is, of course, very interesting work. I think it has already had a big effect on the internet and will have a big effect. So it's appropriate that people are interested in that. So let's get that done and let's do it carefully. Also, we had the hackathon, as we usually do, before the IETF for 2 days. And exciting things are hacked on there. At this time, one observation that I would make is that we had good student groups there. For instance, we had from Sun Quin Quan University, if I can't pronounce that properly, but the I2NSF team consisted of students from there, and they seemed to be having a lot of fun and had their own wardrobe as well for the event. We also had the MPTCP team where they had I think 5 people here and 20 students back home in Belgium. So that was quite interesting. And of course, the IETF is not just about our formal IETF working group meetings. It's also all kinds of other events during and around the IETF, interop tests and whatever else. And we are very glad that such events happen around the IETF. So if you have ideas for those, please ask if we can help with that somehow. This time, for instance, we had the OPNFV organization had their first ever ASEAN meetup on Friday. That's great. And IETF 97, then the participants we had, I think this is data from this morning, maybe. Alexa, can you confirm? Can't see you. Anyway, roughly from this morning, 982 people on site, 154 first-time attendees. This is a little bit down from our predictions. We said I think there were 100+ people more than we actually got, for various reasons. I think Leslie and Ray will go into that a little bit later. And 52 countries, which is a good, that part of it is good result. Yeah. Professional behavior, we've been talking about this many times, but it's not a bad idea necessarily to remind us about it again. Plus, of course, we have some new people here as well. So the IETF has standards for code of conduct and a policy for anti-harassment. We have a best current practice document, RFC process for dealing with harassment cases, if any. And we've set up a team, the Ombuds team, that is helping with these issues. And the team has been active this year, gathering training and setting up their procedures. And they're very helpful and easy to talk to team. If you can stand up. Pete, Alison, Linda. So if you have any issues, how small, no matter how small, just talk to them. Yeah, they should be able to help you and have a discussion at least. Oh, and they have a particular tag in their name tag, the green Ombuds team tag that you can use to help identify them easily. During the last 2 years, the IETF has been involved along with other organizations in the IANA stewardship transition, which is about basically letting these organizations, IETF and ICANN and the RIRs, run the IANA system as we basically have already, and not be bound to any particular governments in that activity. And that has consumed quite a lot of our time. And now that actually did go through and succeed, agreements became in effect on October 1st this year. So for us, that's not a huge change. We were doing basically the same things that we've been doing previously, just that there's no other contracts between ICANN and US government on that front. For us, we got an updated SLA between ICANN and IETF. The IETF Trust had promised and has now taken ownership of the trademarks related to IANA, and we are also about to receive the domain names, IANA.org and so forth, and then some procedures around that. So we actually have to set up a registrar to handle some of that or set up a contract with a third-party registrar to handle some of that stuff. So we're still doing that, but that's going to happen shortly. And I think we've closed, or at least I sent the message to close the IANA plan working group yesterday. So well done. And now we can focus on the real work, I guess, the actual technical stuff, not be disturbed by this too much. So, but this is a good change. This allows us to focus on what the community, not worry about the political issues or impacts in the rest of the world. Just to do what the internet community wants to do for each specific piece of the IANA system. Yeah, so 2.0. So the IETF's administrative arrangements date back to 2005, and most of us probably don't even remember what kinds of problems we had at the time before this was set up. And like the IETF chair wouldn't know how much income we got from meeting fees, for instance. Now we have very accurate accounting, and we are in charge of the whole system. But it has been 11 years. The practices have served us well. I think they still do serve us well. But the system has also changed, or the world has changed around us, and there's some new challenges. So we're starting to look at the needs going forward. Leslie has documented some of the changes that have happened in the last 11 years in her draft. Take a look at that and provide feedback. We'd like to set up a project where we, the IETF community, can perform a comprehensive review of the system. Where are we? And what can we improve? And it's important to remember, it's that some of us might have seen some practical issues that have not gone as well as they should have. We can and we have tried to address some of those practical issues, but there's also maybe more structural question marks, like why is the IETF Trust and IOC the same members? Is that actually necessary? What the interfaces are between different parts, and how do we name people to these organizations or these boards? And I think now is a good time to do that review. For instance, before the IANA transition was completed, it would have been difficult because we were in the middle of doing some of those setups and contracts. Now we have better ability to do that. And I've heard some complaints occasionally on how we do those administrative things. this is your chance, this is our chance to look at that critically and do the evaluation. So if you feel something can be improved, let us know. And step one in this process is actually setting up this project. So hold on just a little bit on the actual substantive comments. Try to get through creation of this effort first, make sure that we have a place to discuss and so forth. We'll be very happy to take feedback on this. A couple of IT-related things, IETF mailing lists, DMARC. So DMARC, SPF, and DKIM techniques are used to fight email spoofing, among other things. And in DMARC in particular, it's possible that if you're an email provider, you can have a policy where spoofed emails should not, from your domain, or supposedly from your domain, should not be accepted by other people. Unfortunately, this is at odds with some common mailing list practices. Let's say if you edit the subject line, add the list name in front, or some of the practices relating to how you bounce messages and what you do with the bounces in cases of lists. Those features will interact, and there will be pain, or there actually has been pain already, and the pain is probably going to increase. And any action, including inaction in this case, will have some consequences. So some pain the world is not perfect in this space. The ISG understand that we need a decision, perhaps some action, and is preparing for this. And we are working closely with the tools team and email experts on what our options are. And the plan is to post a proposal to the mailing lists, IETF at IETF.org, and make a decision within 3 weeks. Now, the situation is somewhat fluid because technology and people's practices around the world are changing. So we predict that we'll have to reassess that decision or actions after a while, maybe 6 months. But we'll probably have to do something in the short term as well. And of course, we invite feedback on all of this as we get the mails out, and there's been some discussion, of course, on the list already on this. The other thing that I wanted to note is that we have a number of test networks in the IETF set of SSIDs and so forth. IETF-NAT64, for instance, and these are there for us to use them and report bugs and fix the bugs, have an effect on the world. If you find something that doesn't work, please report it. So do try that. I think that would be helpful. And I also have a question, what do we do more long-term or going forward with some of these things? Would it be useful to further develop and expand some of these networks and their usage? As an example, the NAT64 thing that we have currently is not necessarily production quality because we don't have, fault tolerance set up for that as an example, and we don't have a lot of data collection mechanisms that allow us to track what's actually happening or what's breaking in the network. And some of that might be useful. So if you have ideas on that, what could we usefully do, then that would be helpful as well. You can comment here during the open mic session or on the IETF at IETF. But I think that some of that would be useful. I myself today reported that Spotify doesn't work under NAT64 for some reason. Okay, so that's my part, and I think next up, Leslie